Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing. He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
It's not a salami sandwich. It's a viable baby in the womb.
Monday. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Around the nation, Waldorf Nation. I am your host, Jeff Waldorf, here with you today. So we got a show today. It's a good show. So, in fact, it's going to be a great show. Lots of stuff to talk about today. Let me just adjust my sound here a little bit. Okay, that might be a little bit better. Also might be a little bit worse. I don't know. Never wants to stay, good, the way that it should be. All right, anyway. So, look, we've got the protests. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We have Republicans. They're going to come for your birth control. I'm not kidding. They keep telling you, oh, no, we're not going to come after birth control. No, they're coming after birth control. I'm going to show you how. And give you some examples. We have Donald Trump and Madison Cawthorn. Interesting. Fun times. We have Cuellar. We have some new information about Cuellar and how he doesn't happen to be all that pro-life after all. And also not very pro-women. So let's talk about that. And then we're going to close out the story, or I should say it's the show, with a good story here about a wealthy diner a group of wealthy diners getting served. Interesting. Fun times. All right, so with that said, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Helps us out as always. Is there ever a bad show? I don't know. Ask me. Sometimes, and I might be like, not my best. I'm just being honest with you. I'm keeping it 100. Sometimes I am not in the zone. Sometimes I'm not. It could be a little bit better. Sometimes, I'm gonna be super honest with y'all. But today is gonna be a fantastic show, so please stick around. Jeff, did you and John have a McConnell off? Did we? No, we did not. Too bad, because wait, are you saying that John Iadarola has a good McConnell impression? If so, we should have a McConnell off. Put my impression of Mitch McConnell versus John Iadarola's. You know what? We could do that in the damage report, maybe. Maybe. You know what? now we're going to have to see. Now we're going to have to do a direct challenge. And we'll see whose is better. Oh, interesting. All right. So anyway, both y'all's is pretty good. Yeah, I haven't heard John's. Friday was a good time at TYT. Hey, I'm really glad that y'all enjoyed it when I was on the main show on Friday. That was a lot of fun, actually. And look, I'll be honest, I was having a really, really crappy couple of days. Let's be honest. But that show went really, really well. So, and it was a lot of fun. In fact, that first segment went super long. And it's because there was so much stuff, so much conversation. I think that first segment was like a half hour. It was amazing. And then, we go to break and everything. And this is like kind of like behind the scenes, obviously. And they're both like, oh, wow, I cannot believe that was that long. And they're like trying to figure out like, maybe there's a way like we could cut it in two or something like that. Like, maybe cut it in half, the segment, because it's a long segment. And we both had a lot of things to say. And so I think it was a really good experience. I think it was a really good show, fun. And so I really looking forward to seeing, I should say, to doing it again, to being on the main show, because that's always a lot of fun when I'm able to do so. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, whenever Jeff is on, the stories are heavy and they all have a ton to say. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like, I get on there and it's heavy shit. And it just kind of shows you they trust me to talk about heavy shit. So that's good. You're one of the big dogs when you get invited on to cover all the heavy stuff. Let's see. Jake does talk a lot. It's true, and it is very, very difficult to. What would Anna say? That Jake kind of steps on everybody's toes a little bit, and it's really difficult to kind of, when you have a point, to get in there. Do we know the stories ahead of time? Yeah, they send you a breakdown earlier in the day, but sometimes, like what happened on Friday, the student loan story was a last minute addition. So it was like one of those things where it's like 5 minutes before the show, breaking news, let's dive into this. So there's that. Even Anna was frothy last week. Yeah, it's true. All right. So anyway, look, enough about that. Again, that was a lot of fun. And I really appreciate that. And, I'm always looking forward to going on different progressive shows. Again, any of these different shows that I can go on, I'd love to do it. And so I always have fun having conversations with other people. You did a super job, well prepared. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Really, really appreciate that. Bypassed salt and went straight to battery acid. You know what? It's these times which require battery acid. And honestly, I wish a lot of the Democrats who say that they're in favor of reproductive rights and protecting Roe, or they claim to have been wanting to protect Roe and reproductive rights, I wish they were half as angry, because they should be. They really, really should be. And they're not. And it's really, really sad that we have these people who are apparently don't have any passion, because these things ultimately do not affect them. I mean, Nancy Pelosi she's more impacted by the costs of ice cream than she is when it comes to reproductive rights. It's really sad that we don't have people that represent us at all in Congress. All right, anyway, enough about that. Let's dive in. Let's go to the first segment here. We're going to talk about the protests and how people, the elitists, are not in favor of people showing up to your house. Over the weekend, activists protesting against the Supreme Court's expected ruling that will gut Roe v. Wade gathered outside the homes of 2 different conservative justices and are actually planning to do more protests. Now, over the weekend, close to 100 peaceful protesters chanted and waved signs on Saturday outside the Maryland house of Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh, of course, who loves beer, he likes to drink beer, and he did not sexually assault Christine Blasey Ford. No, that's according to him. Now, they also then marched to the nearby home of Chief Justice John Roberts. The group that, of course, is behind these protests is called Ruth Sent Us, basically a reference to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who, of course, was massively in favor of Roe v. Wade and protecting reproductive rights, along with the rest of the court's liberals. All right, so now that group has been organizing protests at the homes of the 6 conservative justices, the 3 in Virginia and 3 in Maryland. In fact, you have protest organizer Lacey Wooten Holway telling Bloomberg over the weekend, "The time for civility is over, man. Being polite doesn't get you anywhere." I love it. Because, look, it's true. What is writing a strongly worded, polite letter going to do to protect your rights? It's not. It's not going to do a goddamn thing. All right, so now, that said, you have some elitists that are very, very suddenly concerned about safety. Oh, it all has to do with safety. For example, you have Iraq War ghoul Bill Kristol, not to be confused with Billy Crystal. Now, Kristol says this. Here's what he tweeted. "Please don't protest at people's homes. Please don't intrude on people attending their houses of worship. Organize politically. Be civil, civically." So basically, quiet. Don't be rude. Don't show. By the way, and here's the thing, right? So these conservative court justices, they are public figures. They are public figures. And so knowing where they live is kind of like knowing where a celebrity lives, right? It's public knowledge. And of course, they're wealthy enough to have security measures in place because, again, nobody wants to do violence against them. I'm certainly not in favor of doing violence, but if you want to protest in the street, well, then protest in the street right in front of their house. That's fine. And by the way, that protest, in case you're asking, but what about the neighbors? Aren't the neighbors going to be upset? The neighbors in this case literally helped organize this protest. Even your neighbors hate you, or at least hate your decision. And so this is important. So that's Bill Kristol. Again, he's going to be one of the very many members of the Civility Brigade that you're hearing already. Fox News, they're all over it, saying, "Oh my God, can you believe it? They're actually protesting inside the houses of the elites. They're actually getting into our gated neighborhoods and protesting for their own civil rights. How dare they, this uncouth mob?" In fact, Ted Cruz goes nuclear. Here's what he tweeted. "This is sick. The Biden White House is openly urging rioters to target the justices' homes and threaten their families. Radical Dems want to burn it all down, and they are happy to employ violence against anyone who doesn't comply." Oh, really? Violence? Violence? Are you kidding me? Violent? You're going to talk about violence? Now, look, I am going to talk about, because I'm fair on this show, there was one instance of violence against an anti-abortion group. And of course, we look at that and we say, don't do that. That was a Molotov, I believe it was a Molotov cocktail at a Wisconsin anti-abortion group. Now, again, I discourage that. I don't think that's the way that you need to go. But again, when we're talking about the right wing calling out violence, they seem to always forget that the majority of the violence tends to be from their own side. Again, you want to talk about, and I've got the numbers on how many abortion providers, and by the way, they're not these places that provide abortions. This is one of the many different services they do for women. Aside from reproductive health, you have screenings, cancer screenings, birth control, just monthly, checkups or womanly checkups. You have all that different stuff that they do. But no, they single them out and they say, well, you do abortions, and so therefore we're going to stand outside and we're going to, verbally, berate people that are going inside. Sometimes they're going to force their way inside. Sometimes we're going to do actual violence. And yes, we're also going to throw Molotovs. We're going to do bomb threats. That's all coming from the right wing. But no, it's the radical Democrats that want to burn it down. Oh, yes. So says Ted Cruz. All right, there's more. Lee Zeldin, a Republican representative in Congress's New York 1st Congressional District, here's what they said. Quote, does anyone in the Biden administration have the courage and decency to speak out in defense of the physical safety of our 9 Supreme Court justices? The doxing and intimidation campaign targeting these justices is illegal. Protest is illegal? Weird. Really? Weird? That's very strange. I didn't know that there was a law against that. Oh, you know what? In the case of Alito, hey, if it's not in the Constitution, buddy boy, then, if it's not explicitly laid out that you can't, protest outside of Alito's home, then I guess you should be able to protest outside of Alito's home. Or suddenly, maybe that's, maybe it doesn't have to be in the Constitution for it to be illegal. I don't know. All right, more. He says, by the way, I'm going to show you a video here that Ted Cruz and Zeldin are referencing. This is Jen Psaki. Let me read the rest of the quote, and we'll get to that. He said, the doxing and intimidation campaign targeting the justice is illegal, and Jen Psaki just used her platform to greenlight it. So, it's Jen Psaki. She's calling for violence. She's calling to attack people. All right, well, let me show you the video where she allegedly tells these people to go riot. Take a look.
These activists posted a map with the home addresses of the Supreme Court justices. Is that the kind of thing this president wants to help your side make their point?
Look, I think the president's view is that there's a lot of passion, a lot of fear, a lot of sadness from many, many people across this country about what they saw in that leaked document. We obviously want people's privacy to be respected. We want people to protest peacefully if they want to protest. That is certainly what the president's view would be.
Where was the call for violence? Where was her saying, oh, you definitely need to go and riot in front of their houses. You go after them. Get them. I don't see any of that from Jen Psaki. Of course, look, this is Ted Cruz. So obviously, he doesn't expect anybody to actually watch the video. Doesn't expect anybody to actually know what she actually said. No, of course not. Come on. And by the way, here's what she also tweeted afterwards. She said, POTUS strongly believes in the constitutional right to protest, but that should never include violence, threats, or vandalism. Judges perform an incredibly important function in our society, and thus they must be able to do their jobs without concern for their personal safety. Now, does that sound like Jen Psaki telling people to burn it down and employ violence? No! This is classic bullshit straw man. And they keep setting up this straw man in order to cover for what they're actually doing, which is taking rights away from people, human beings. In fact, the organization Ruth sent us also tweeted this. They said, Justice Alito thinks they can take away our rights, but our rights are fundamentally ours. We are showing up to tell them in person. There was also a message on the website, quote, if you'd like to join or lead a peaceful protest, let us know. How weird. They keep saying this word peaceful, and yet the right wing says they're all violent mobs of people. Very strange. Oh, but there's more reaction. Tom Fritton, president of Judicial Watch, as a right-wing group, said, the Biden White House seems to be condoning dangerous and unprecedented intimidation and crimes targeting the Supreme Court Justice of the United States. Where? Where's the Biden White House doing this? They're not. They're just not. It's complete patent bullshit. All right, there's more. Jeremy Boring, co-founder of the Daily Wire, here's what he tweeted. Don't protest at private homes. I cannot think of a single exception. Peter Savodnik, writer for Vanity Fair, adds, the reason you don't protest in front of any official's house is it is a form of proto-violence, a thinly veiled threat that is inherently anti-democratic. Yes, that's right. That's right. People coming out to voice their displeasure towards government officials is anti-democratic. That's literally what our government is based on, a redress of our grievances. Well, you know what? You got millions of people out there that got some goddamn grievances, and they need to be redressed. My God. By the way, Savodnik also adds this. If you are horrified by January 6th, you should be a little horrified by the Kavanaugh protests, which are but a half step from breaking down his front door. And? So, for one, no verification on they're going to break down his front door. They're half a step. Hey, you know what? If they actually did break down his front door, then maybe you'd be like, hey, whoa. You might want to back up here. All right, just a minute. And we're not looking to tar and feather the guy, which actually used to be a thing that people would do. They don't do that anymore. I don't know. I'm not saying it should make a comeback. But I'm not saying that. You know what? I'm just not going to say anything. Let's talk about that. But look, let's talk about proto-violence, right? Oh, it's not violence. It's proto-violence. It's pre-violence. Are you going to really go down that route? Are you like the civility police? Because that's what this is looking like. You got liberals out there that are like, no, you don't understand. We need civility. We need to bring civility back. Motherfuckers trying to take people's rights, to strip them of reproductive control over their own bodies. You need to talk about civility. Where's the civility in that? Where's the civility, huh? No, this is stupid. This is concern trolling is what this is. That's it. And by the way, January 6th, that's actual violence. There was actual violence against people, against police. And by the way, credible threats of violence. They were going through the halls with handcuffs, shouting, hang Mike Pence. Not civility. There was no civility there. And by the way, I mentioned earlier, violence against clinics that offer abortion and reproductive health. You know that between 1994 and 2016, extremists killed 11 workers at these clinics and attempted to kill 26 more. From 1997 to 2016, there were 7,200 reported acts of violence, 42 bombings, 185 arson attacks, thousands of death threats, and in 2020, assault against providers increased 125% compared to 2019. Remember Dr. Tiller? As Bill O'Reilly would call Dr. Tiller the baby killer, right? You want to talk about that, right? That's weird. He could go out on TV and just say that, Dr. Tiller, baby killer, Dr. Tiller, baby killer. And then was acting completely shocked and chagrined. I can't believe somebody would have murdered him. I can't believe somebody would have, taken that so seriously as to murder them. You're kidding, right? And now, did anybody ever accuse Bill O'Reilly of fomenting violence or even proto-violence? Not on the right. And again, it seems like the establishment press is so concerned about civility, and by the way, protecting already powerful people from just protest, the First Amendment right of protest, that they're just completely ignoring all the other times that right-wingers have not only, done stochastic terrorism, right, and egged people on to do attacks, but also there are constant calls for violence against other people. Look, here's the thing. I mentioned there was an arson attempt on a Wisconsin anti-choice office. And again, I'm not in favor of that. But other than that, these have been peaceful, the protests. And as long as it stays peaceful, totally fine. Nonetheless, the right-wingers are still going to go after it and claim that, no, this is violence and this is intimidation. How dare they? No, you know what? The majority of the public in the United States wants to preserve choice and to keep the government from getting between a person with a uterus and their doctor. And yet here we have a small minority of unelected justices that represent a fringe view that are working to destroy established precedent and allow millions of people to be stripped from their rights. That's the real problem. That's beyond civility. And the fact that so many in the media are running interference, so many Democratic politicians as well, that are crapping on the protests when they themselves could have actually done something, it's indicative of a problem. The elite stick together. The wealthy politicians and the news actors are never going to be affected by laws that are restricting abortion, that are restricting reproductive rights. Why? They're wealthy. They could just fly somewhere else. They can fly to get an abortion. Another state, or they probably live in a state which is going to allow abortion regardless. But when it comes to people in poverty, women, trans men, non-binary, intersex, anybody with a functioning uterus that has the ability to get pregnant, that do not have the means to escape these red states that are cracking down, well, they're going to be affected. And damn right they're angry. And by the way, remember that protest is the purest form of democracy. It's just a peaceful voicing their opinion. But it turns out that in this day and age, well, that gets the elites very, very uncomfortable. Well, that's the point. Make them uncomfortable. The elites are very comfortable, and they shouldn't be. Okay. Moving on. Following the elite decision on Roe v. Wade, progressives have been warning that same-sex marriage, contraception, and even blowjobs, yes, are on the chopping block. Now, of course, I got a lot of pushback from conservatives saying, oh, no, we're not going after those things. What are you talking about? We would never go after those things, just like we would never go after the established precedent of abortion. Oh, right. Now, we're going to start out here with Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro tweeted this. The left can't speak about abortion in convincing ways, which is why they're now trying to falsely accuse Mitch McConnell of wanting to kill the filibuster, Blake Masters of wanting to ban contraception, and the states wanting to ban interracial marriage. So, now, again, Ben Shapiro has no idea what he's talking about. Actually, he does. He does have an idea of what he's talking about. And what he's trying to do is basically to run cover. Okay? Masters is a Tucson-based venture capitalist, and he boasted on his website that he would only vote to confirm judges who, quote, understand that Roe and Griswold and Casey were wrongly decided, meaning that he is against those cases. By the way that they were decided was based on privacy, the right to privacy. Griswold actually protects a married couple's right to buy and use contraception without government restrictions because it's an issue of privacy between the couple. He says, oh, no, that's wrong. No, we can't have that. We can't have contraception protected by privacy. Oh, okay, yeah. Now, of course, There was another politician, Mike Braun, who had also said, you know what, we should send the idea of interracial marriage back to the states. Let them decide. I mean, come on. He said it, but Ben Shapiro's like, no, didn't actually happen. No. I've got a video of Shapiro later. But look, what they're doing is they're trying to make sure all of these civil rights that have been decided in a lot of these Supreme Court cases in the past get sent back to the states. Now you might think, wait a minute, what's so bad about that? Well, what's going on? I mean, look, the federal government's not actually going to ban it. We're just going to leave it up to the voters in those specific states to go and make that decision. Now, the problem, of course, is that this immediately does mean ban. In Louisiana and in many other states, there are so-called trigger laws. Now, in Louisiana specifically, this trigger law would be an immediate abortion ban. According to WRKF, the bill would allow prosecutors to charge anyone who undergoes or provides an abortion with murder. That's it. Murder. Now, you might be asking, okay, but you're talking about birth control here versus abortion. Of course they're not. That doesn't mean they're going to go after birth control, right? No. The law HB, and this is the insidious part of it. HB 813 defines personhood, in which a lot of these bills are so-called personhood bills that will be kicking in as trigger laws. Personhood defines, obviously, a person getting constitutional protected rights as the moment fertilization occurs. So as soon as a sperm meets that egg, that's a person, according to them. Now, the Bible doesn't say that. No, the Bible says it's life when it takes its first breath. But remember, we shouldn't be making laws based in the Bible anyway. So what the Bible says doesn't even matter. And yet what they're doing is they're taking out passages, cherry picking them, and not only that, but they're just taking stuff that's in the Bible, or not even in the Bible, I'm sorry, and legislating on that, pretending that it is. So now they're saying, well, it's a person now that it's a fertilized egg. Now, what that has to do with many forms of birth control, including IUDs and Plan B, is that those things would prevent the implantation of a fertilized egg. So if you prevent the implantation of a fertilized egg, in their eyes, in the eyes of this law, constitutes murder. Oh, so that's how it impacts. And not only that, but under a lot of these laws, that's another way that they could punish women for having a miscarriage and throw them in prison. And it has happened already. So that's what's going on. That language, again, would effectively ban many different forms of birth control and charge, again, people with murder. But there's more. And more conservatives basically admitting what they're doing. Students for Life America's executive director, Kristen Hawkins, has said that in her ideal world, the pill and IUDs would be illegal. Just ban them. How weird. I thought they weren't coming after birth control. I thought they didn't care. I thought that was a personal decision. There's more. I have a video here. This is Idaho State Representative Brent Crane, who's a Republican, basically saying, we don't know for sure yet, but we might actually go after IUDs. And that's after giving some disinformation. Take a look.
How about abortion pills via mail or IUDs or Plan B? Would you hear legislation to ban those?
I would. Absolutely. There is some concerns, health concerns actually, with the medication that they mail the medication to the woman. She takes them. They can sometimes have a reaction to that. So from a health concerns perspective, yes, I think that we need to take a look at that legislation, or look at legislation that would deal with those particular prescribing of those abortifacients. Plan B, I probably would hear that legislation. IUDs, I'm not for certain yet on where I would be on that particular issue.
Oh, Plan B. By the way, they're lying. It's not an abortifacient. It just, once again, prevents the implantation of a fertilized egg. That's why you only have a certain amount of time that it is effective. Once that implantation occurs, it is no longer effective. So once again, I was going to say that it was an accidental misunderstanding, but no, it's purposeful. It's purposeful. They know how it works, and they don't actually care. And so here he is spreading disinformation about what Plan B is. And again, this is part and parcel to the so-called pro-life movement. They have lied about abortion, and they have lied about Plan B. So understand that they're incredibly dishonest and have misled people. And now, of course, you might be like, well, wait a minute. You understand? They say they're trying to protect babies, right? And so they shouldn't they be honest and have the truth on their side? But the very thing that they believe that they're doing, which is about protecting life, protecting babies, you don't think that they would lie to do that? Of course they would. Of course they would. Yes, and they have lied, and they've even impersonated doctors in their so-called crisis pregnancy centers. That's what they do. That's what they do. They lie all the time about what's actually going on. And that's, again, because their views are deeply unpopular. Now, there's actually more. We're going to go to Mississippi Republican Tate Reeves on this issue. And he's going to be asked by Jake Tapper on State of the Union if he's in favor of, again, banning birth control.
But so just to be clear, you have no intention of seeking to ban IUDs or Plan B?
That is not what we're focused on at this time.
That is not what we're focused on this time. At this time. Oh, really? Okay. Translation. That's what we're going to do it eventually, but we just don't want to admit it. Of course. Yeah. Now, again, it's because access to birth control is incredibly popular. In fact, according to a 2018 survey done by Power to Decide, nearly 8 in 10, 78% of adults in the United States, including 66% of Republicans and 93% of Democrats, consider birth control to be a basic part of women's health care. In a 2016 survey, 80% of women said birth control has had a positive effect on their lives, including 63% reporting that it reduces stress and 56% saying it helps them to keep working. About 99% of sexually active women of reproductive age have used some form of birth control, such as an intrauterine device, patch, or pill at least once. And by the way, this shouldn't have to be mentioned, but I'll mention it anyway. A lot of women also use birth control not because they're having sex, which is, again, totally fine. I don't think there's any problem with that, and there shouldn't be any problem with that. But they also use it to help regulate their cycles, to regulate their bodies. And so there's that as well. But again, it shouldn't matter if you are using birth control to have sex. That's what it's there for. But, finally, when Gallup back in 2015 did a poll, they asked if birth control in general was morally acceptable. You know who said that? That it was 89% of the country. Morally acceptable. Weird. So look, this is Republicans doing a little bit of sleight of hand when it comes to their actual positions. Because they want to ban birth control. Not because of any, we care about life, we care about the implanted or not implanted fertilized eggs because we believe those are people. No, it's because they want to control women's bodies and to punish women for having sex. Full stop. Punish women for having sex. Oh, and by the way, Amy Coney Barrett also says in her argument for, overturning Roe, well, we need to have a new, make sure that we have a domestic supply of infants for adoption. There are thousands of kids in foster care. mean, and by the way, this is the same party that says we shouldn't have gay people be able to adopt. No, get out of here. Get out of here. Now, as for finally same-sex marriage and how, again, it would lead to anything else, right? Now, Ben Shapiro has recently telegraphed his own attack against Obergefell, which is the same-sex marriage position. In fact, here it is.
And then they try to claim, well, they might overturn Obergefell. First of all, Obergefell is a bad Supreme Court decision. And if we had a Supreme Court with itself, they would overturn Obergefell. But they're not going to. They explicitly say, Alito says, I think 3 separate times in that decision that I read in nearly its totality on the air yesterday, that this has no impact on other cases of different lines, which is a clear reference to Obergefell repeatedly. Okay, but Democrats know that deep down in the cockles of their tiny little Grinch-like hearts on abortion, they know that the abortion issue is not a winner. So they're trying to expand it out, say, well, you never know. The Supreme Court, they might go after gay rights. They might go after... Sure, you're right. The same Supreme Court in which Neil Gorsuch idiotically ruled that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 covers transgender people is going to now overrule Obergefell. I'm sure, Terry. Go for it.
Oh, yes. Of course they're not going to go after Obergefell, which I totally think that they should go after Obergefell because it's a terrible decision. But they're not going to. Because something about transgender. Can you believe they actually ruled in favor of transgender? Oh, how terrible. But we should get rid of it all. But they're not going to. And you believe them. And, that's the worst thing, too. Oh, see, they say they're not going to go. You know what? They also lied during their job interview for the Supreme Court. They were asked if they were going to go after Roe. They were going to overturn Roe v. Wade. And they said, no, we respect precedent. We love precedent. We love it so much that we're just not going to touch it. Oh, really? Oh, that turns out to be a lie. What else are they lying about? No. Look, they're coming after your rights, and there's no doubt about it anymore. None at all. They want to keep people poor and desperate. And you know why? It's because they're against freedom. The only freedoms that they fight for are for corporations. Look, when people are loaded up with kids they can't afford to educate, because, by the way, the other thing that I've showed you that they're going after is education, public education, is so that these people, these families that are poor, don't rise up against fascism. They don't fight back. And they take the country all the way back into the Dark Ages. That's who they are. And by the way, if you're thinking, well, look, sure, what we need to do is we just need to vote blue. No, that's not going to do it either. Nancy Pelosi and Jim Clyburn and the Democratic Party are literally out there stumping for anti-choice Democrats in Texas. Henry Cuellar. That's not going to do it. Look, what you do, you got to protest, you got to show up, you got to organize your community, organize your workplaces. And yes, of course, you vote for progressives. That does help. But that's not the end-all, be-all of how to fight back. You have to put pressure outside of electoral politics. Okay? You have to push back in any way you can, peacefully, of course, against the far-right takeover of this country. Beyond that, I don't know what else we can do to protect our rights. But we've got to do something. All right. Moving on. The Madison Cawthorn drip campaign, the drip, 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 has finally made its way to Mar-a-Lago in front of former President Donald Trump, who apparently seems to be weirded out by all the different things that have come out against the North Carolina Republican. So now, according to Rolling Stone, Trump has found the newly public videos and images depicting the congressman to be gross. Gross. Look, I kind of agree. It was pretty gross. Not because of the homoeroticism or anything like that. No, it's simply because it's Madison Cawthorn. You, right? All right. Now, on April 22nd, for example, Politico published photos showing Cawthorn dressed in lingerie, posing with two women. I don't really care. Totally fine with that. It might actually show that the guy has somewhat of a personality. Like, you know what? Do you have fun? I don't care. On April 28th, the Daily Mail also published a video showing Cawthorn saying, I feel the passion and desire and would like to see a naked body beneath my hands. While a male staffer is seen with his hand near Cawthorn's crotch. Again, weird, but okay. Sure, do you. And on May 4th, Cawthorn confirmed the authenticity of a video when she was seen dry humping another man while naked. Again, don't care. If we were on, look, if you were on the left, nobody would care. We really don't care what you do with your, on your own time or with who, as long as it's consensual. That's the only thing that matters to me. If it's consensual, have at it, have fun. Now on the right, of course, this scandal. Oh no, scandal. Even though, of course, there's a fair amount of right-wingers that have been engaged and have been caught in similar activities. Again, we don't really care, but they do, since they are the so-called party of pro-family and pro-morality. I know, laugh along with me, right? They have had to denounce this stuff. Activities like affairs, gay romances, hiring sex workers, and even getting their mistresses abortions like Trump and Desjardins. But really, again, to me, the only objectionable thing to me is having the affairs. I think it's really shitty to, cheat on your spouse, especially when she is having your child, like Trump did. But anyway, and by the way, Trump also has been accused of having a affair with porn stars. So, yet, he's not happy with Cawthorn. So now, from the Rolling Stone report, a source said that lately Trump had voiced bewilderment and discussed confusion about what he'd been told of the flood of leaks and footage, asking at one point in recent days if one of the allegations was that Cawthorn was fucking his cousin. No, that's actually not one of the allegations. I know some people have been confused about that, like something to do with his cousin, who happens to be a staffer on his campaign, and was in them when they were discussed. But no, he was not having sex with his cousin. Okay, that's none. Like, I don't like Madison Cawthorn, but we gotta stay honest here about this. No, it's not his cousin. Okay. Anyway, now former President Trump is completely weirded out by the allegations, according to a third source, a Trump ally bluntly related to Rolling Stone. That said, he's not quite ready to let go of Madison Cawthorn. The article adds that, however, that Cawthorn's position on the big lie is, for the moment, preserving his status in Trump's good graces, because of course it is. As long as you believe that, oh, yes, of course Trump won the election. Well, then he's going to be like, oh, well, he's with me on that one. More so than some of these Republicans, like Liz Cheney. Hate her. Well, you know what? I also hate her, but not for that reason. All right. But as Cawthorn himself also said this, he said, Trump is my friend and the leader of our party. I don't trust anonymous sources and nameless accusations. The fake news attacks MAGA warriors every single day. Their lies won't distract me from fighting for an America First agenda in Congress. Now, I love this because this is a great statement for so many different reasons. I love what he says. I don't trust nameless accusations. Dude, this whole thing started after you made the accusations that you were invited to cocaine-fueled sex parties by Republicans. It ain't Democrats inviting you to cocaine-fueled sex parties. It's got to be Republicans. And by the way, you say that And when asked, like, hey, dude, let's name some names. Total hypocrisy. He refuses to do so. And here's the other thing, too. You're on tape. Literally, you're on tape. The source doesn't matter. It's an anonymous source, yes, but you're on the tape. It's verified. I know because you verified it yourself. You said, yes, this is authentic. This is a real tape. This is me. Well, okay, then we can all see you. And you admitted it. What point are you trying to make? It's amazing. But look, if anything, you think that this might endear Madison Cawthorn to Donald Trump even more, right? Because look, they have something in common. And I don't just mean like the weird sex stuff. I mean that the Republican establishment kind of coming for you. This time, I mean, really, they're vicious in coming after Madison Cawthorn. And let's be super honest about that. These are some pretty dirty tactics, but that happens to work on the Republican side. And so, I mean, that is really interesting. Now, the only question is, of course, will Madison Cawthorn's loyalty to the big lie and Donald Trump, I mean, will that override Trump's inherent bigotry? Is he going to see like, Madison Cawthorn, kind of gross. Man, is that boy useful? I don't know. I guess we're going to have to see whether or not Trump pulls in his endorsement of Cawthorn or not. Also, it might be that this has a big impact on Cawthorn's polling. And that also might be the difference. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Let's go back to the pro-life issue. And we'll hit the Democrats. Representative Henry Cuellar is a bit of a terrible person. Along with being one of the most corrupt corporate Democrats, taking money from fossil fuel industry and other corporate interests, and voting against codifying Roe v. Wade when he had the chance. Well, now new details have come out that he is a pretty terrible boss. In fact, according to Jezebel magazine, Cuellar had fired his acting chief of staff for requesting maternity leave. Now, let me give you the details here. Former Cuellar staffer Christy Small had signed onto the Texas congressman's staff back in 2018 when she was 28 weeks pregnant. The congressman's response to her initial request for maternity leave is that we need to talk about it. He then cited a 90-day probationary period for all new hires. However, of course, according to Small, no such condition of employment was contained in her employment agreement or the employee handbook, so effectively not there. Nonetheless, Cuellar not only did not approve her parental leave, paid leave? No, you don't get no paid leave. On October 16th, he then fired her over the phone, citing her poor job performance while she was in her third trimester. About 2 weeks later, Small delivered her baby at 30 weeks. Unfortunately for her, it was stillbirth. So, look, there are pregnancies that pregnancies can end for a variety of reasons. Naturally, it's pretty awful when that happens, when you want that child, when you're expecting that child. Again, sometimes it can happen as a result of like stress. And while losing your job, that's kind of stressful, isn't it? I'm not saying that that's the cause, but I'm just saying it probably might not have helped. Maybe contributed. I can't say for certain. In these cases, you never really can point to just one specific cause for a stillbirth or a miscarriage. But anyway, it gets worse. Not only was she fired, and not only does she have to go through the trauma of losing a baby that she wanted and that she chose to have, now Cuellar, his office, had actually attempted to coerce staffers to fabricate poor job performance reviews to justify the dismissal after Small sued Cuellar's office in May of 2019, alleging both sex and pregnancy discrimination under federal law. Cuellar's office tried to dismiss the lawsuit and submitted disparaging letters from Small's colleagues about her job performance justification. According to court documents reviewed by Jezebel, Cuellar himself requested staffers to write these letters after he fired her. At least 5 were dated after Small had filed her lawsuit. Wow. Interesting. Now, of course, federal judge Trevor N. McFadden had denied Cuellar's motion to dismiss that case. He wrote the congressman solicited written statements from his staffers about Small's performance after he had fired her, and the staffers provided their statements after Small filed this action in May of 2019. He said, perhaps Cuellar was simply looking for corroboration of Small's poor performance, but a jury might also see this as an attempt to collect post hoc justifications. Shocker. So now look, Cuellar, he's been in the news quite some time for, being allegedly pro-life, right? I'm pro-life. I'm a pro-life Democrat. I'm in favor of all of this pro-woman stuff, and yet he's acting like a Republican. I mean, fighting somebody for asking for maternity leave when they're going to give birth. I thought pro-lifers are supposed to care about the fetus. But no, apparently not. No, apparently they were lying when they said they do anything to protect the unborn. I mean, Cuellar heard this request and said, no, your most important job right now is to help me get reelected. That's it. I don't give a damn about you and your baby. And in fact, you're fired, and then I'm going to make up how you did a bad job. Again, aside from the stillbirth here, losing your baby, the worst part is Cuellar then getting his staffers to write negative reviews, negative statements to justify her firing. So he is an absolute gross person, gross dude. And yet Nancy Pelosi and Jim Clyburn, they were out there stumping for him, saying, oh, you need to elect him, elect Henry Cuellar, against this primary opponent, Jessica Cisneros, who has a good chance of winning. Look, Nancy Pelosi said, I can't believe what a slap in the face it is to women for the Supreme Court to get rid of Roe. But then, of course, she turns around and actively supports a man who opposed codifying Roe into law and then fires his pregnant staffers. You know why she supports him, of course. Because at the end of the day, they have the same donors. She knows he's going to be very reliable. He's a reliable vote in pushing corporate rule. Now, by the way, corporations, they've also fired women who are pregnant and, support things like at-will employment, for example, where you can fire anybody for any reason. You don't have to state what reason it is. I mean, it could be like, this person's gay. I don't agree with their lifestyle, but they're really, really bad at their job. I can't fire them for being gay, which I'm against, but I can fire them for doing a bad job. Terrible job. Oh, poor performance. We're going to get rid of you. That's what at-will employment is. That's the law of the land in many different states. Corporations are in favor of such laws. Now, not only that, by the way, corporations also favor underpaying women, mothers, and not providing free childcare to allow these women to come to work when they have kids. So please, save me the outrage about Roe. All of this from the Democratic Party is performative. They are not fighting for you. They're fighting for their corporate donors. That's all they care about. Those politicians not only need to be replaced, but most importantly, replacing the system, fixing that system, eliminating legalized corruption, knocking it down, and making sure that we actually have a system that listens to real people, works for us, and not giant multinational corporations. Okay. All right. Let's go to a pro-worker story here. Because it's been a rough hour. Let's do it. All right. Let's jump in. Working in food service is generally pretty terrible, but it's even worse when you have to cater to certain kinds of people. For example, very wealthy people, generally. At least this is according to a story by one server in the UK by the name of Lily. Apparently, she recently dealt with a group of wealthy patrons, and it was a pretty terrible experience. So now, look, I've talked about this in the context of the United States, where servers are consistently treated like trash, garbage. They've been disrespected by rude customers, and even during the pandemic, assaulted for asking for people to just simply put on a mask. And I've talked to a lot of them personally, and again, this is anecdotal, but I have talked to a lot of them who have told me the same kinds of stories. And this is all while getting paid what is essentially peanuts. Not enough. Now, this story actually has a decent ending, and that's why it stands out. But first, let me give you the details. So now, there's a restaurant owner in Cardiff who apparently was on Gordon Ramsay's show, got his leg crushed by a lorry, or whatever that is. So, I mean, that's a pretty serious story. So this guy is already fairly well known as a chef. Now, his name is Lee Skeet, and he owns this restaurant that seems to be very elite, right? Very small, I think houses, 12 people at once, at most, I should say. So now, one of his servers, Lily, was mistreated, so he decided to write an email. Dear XXX, whoever those people are, I wanted to firstly thank you for choosing my restaurant for your meal tonight. I understand you had the biggest bill we've ever had on one table here. Unfortunately, throughout the evening, I was made aware that your party's behavior was inappropriate towards Lily, who runs front of house. She has told me that as a 22-year-old girl, she was talked down to, disrespected, and touched unwantedly by members of your group. I have spent the last hour having conversations with her that break my heart, make me feel like a shit employer, and a terrible dad, having my own daughter. Please provide your bank details, and I will refund your entire bill of £1,000 minus £100 that I believe you should have tipped Lily, which I will pay directly to her, as you left no tip. That's equivalent to about $1,200. So look, they spend $1,200, and they didn't even tip. Terrible human beings. And then he added, I would thank you to never come back to my restaurant. Lily means a lot more to me than money. I also think you should assess the people you surround yourself with. So look, my first reaction is, why would you give him back the money? Well, that seems stupid. I mean, again, sticking up for your employer, well, that's nice. That's a good thing, right? It's incredibly rare. That's why, the story stands out. But not only that, but the fact that generally employers don't tend to speak up for their employees, well, that usually makes it so that there are a lot of entitled assholes out there in the first place. Management will always choose the money. Oh, they don't tip in the UK. Generally, Now, maybe they do in that restaurant, but now there are people, by the way, getting back to the workers here and how they're treated. Remember, there are people out there who believe that servers aren't just employees that bring you your food, but they tend to think of them as like slaves. Maybe it's the whole thing that was drilled into people's heads. You know, the customer's always right. The customer's always right. The customer's always right. And if you think, well, I'm always right, and if I'm always right, then I can treat people any way that I want to. And I've noticed that when it comes to a lot of wealthy people or people who think that they're wealthy, upper middle class, those tend to actively look down on people working low-wage jobs. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying there's a significant amount of people that do. They have the thoughts that, hey, look, we're obviously better than you because we have more money than you. And we have a better job. And that you working your job, well, you deserve to be in poverty. And in fact, anybody working that job deserves to be in poverty. And I think that's the wrong approach, obviously. Being wealthy does not make you better. You know what makes you better? If you actually treat people good. That makes you a better person. That determines whether you're a good person or not. And so these guys have obviously shown that they're not good people. So that was my first thought. Oh, you're going to return the money and then you're going to ban them and that's going to make a statement. Okay, that's fine. Great. But that also means that they just got a free meal, which is not great. Again, they're rich. It probably doesn't even matter if you're out there, you're going to spend $1,200 on a meal. Money doesn't really matter to you. Sure. Now, this is where it gets good. Skeet then turned around and said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to give you your money back. No. In fact, here's what he wrote. On reflection, I reacted too quickly and emotionally last night. Sorry, I was a little bit angry and protective. I'm not going to refund the customer's money. I've instead kept it and transferred it to Lily X. Now that's good. You've got a ban, and all that money from them went to her. Good. I like it. I like it. Now look, this sends a message, hey, don't mess with my employee. Because guess what? You're going to be banned, and we're just going to give all the money that you should have given to her, and not only that, in tip or gratuity compensation, but yeah, all that money is going to go to her because you guys decided to be a jackass. Hey, you love to see it, right? Look, attitudes about working people, they need to change. Nobody who works should be living in poverty. That's number one. And secondly, just because somebody's doing a service for you, that doesn't entitle you to treat them like trash, like garbage human beings. They are people, and they are deserving of basic respect and dignity. And if you can't manage just that little bit, then stay home and make your own goddamn food. Okay. All right. That's it. That's all I got for y'all. Thank you for grounding around the nation with me today. Let me go through here and read some super chats before I go. Yeah, we're massively out of time. It's just one of those days. Boulder Crypto Sissy Dragon says Republicans are evil and determined, while most Democrats are corrupt and clueless. Fun times. True. Dango Bangle says organization and protests outside the Dems headquarters too. Kavanaugh's door should be broken out. This is not my opinion. Not my opinion. Neo-Nazis should get no damn quarters from constructing the means to purposely disable, sterilize, and euthanize people. Establishment Dems refuse to ever challenge neo-Nazis, but are also willing to challenge anyone to the left of Nazis. Let that sink in, says Danko Bangle. Dystopian Dragon says, can the Equals Rights Amendment help with this? I'm not sure, honestly. I'm gonna have to look into that. Dingo Bangle again says, the only thing Dems can do to stop the Republican Party is to send law enforcement agents to arrest members of the Supreme Court, but that requires them having a spine. Gale, thank you for becoming a supporter for 8 months. Great power panel on Friday. And show today. Acid Dragon, thank you. Appreciate that. And again says anti-abortion, anti-sodomy, anti-mixed marriage laws are a way to revoke one's right to vote after fighting so hard to be able to vote. Now, I think that's a really, really important point. Oh, you're going to do this stuff and then get arrested. Oh, you're a felon now. Oh, looks like you can't vote. Oh, I'm sorry. That's bad luck. Yeah, it is a way to steal your votes. All right. Dango Bangle also says the H stands for homes. Right. Let's see. All right. So, yeah. Let's go to Twitch. By the way, Twitch. Lots of fun going on here on Twitch. By the way. Jay Hawker 41 the Ball Dragon, thank you for gifting a tier 1 sub to Rora Sarabeth. And let's see, Occam's Taser, thank you for resubbing with Prime for a year, 12 months. Wow. Today's stream chat has been weird. True. All right. I've seen some of that going on. And it's like, okay. All right, Twitch chat. Lori is a semi-truck. Yeah, I thought it was like a, I don't know what it, like a I think of a high-low, like a fork truck. I don't know, British slang and British stuff. Yeah. All right, anyway. That's it. Like I said, thank you all for stopping by. Appreciate that. And for the very kind super chats. As well as Twitch subs and fun stuff. We're going to raid into the serfs over on Twitch, by the way. Send you all fine folks over to them. Over to Lance, take good care of you. As for everybody else, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Like and share our videos, all that wonderful stuff. Thank you all. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. See y'all tomorrow. Have a fantastic night.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
I have not loved this conversation.
Millions in Venezuela.
Disappointed!
They want to make you drink Starbucks every day from now until forever.
They say, that's amazing. How did you do that?
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.